Welcome everyone. If you all can take your seats, we'll go ahead and get started. Appreciate everybody who got here early and everyone who got here at all. It is very cold outside. I am going to do just this welcome to the host site for this meeting and then turn it over. As you can see, the agenda is there. My name is Edwards, and I am chair of the Sacred Ground Historical Reclamation Project. But here at Williamburg Community House, my role is manager of library programs and Birdhouse Market. And Williamburg is pleased to offer this room, this library, as a community center and as a meeting space for the community. So it is a space that you can call us about using for your events. We have more information about the agency on the counter there, and so as you leave, I hope you'll take a little sheet and learn a bit more about it. But in a nutshell, it's a 90-year-old social services agency that operates with 3 programs for the community. One is family and emergency services, so if there's a crisis, you can come and meet with a social worker and case manager to discuss that situation. If you have a specific need for food assistance, we have a food pantry that operates on Mondays and Thursdays. If you have children under the age of 5 who need early childhood education, we have a program for that. And then under the auspices of the library, we have the library, the books, the computer bank for people if they need to do research or things that involve the computers. We also have the farmer's market, a small production farm, and a community garden. And all of those are related to the fact that when we look at how people reclaim themselves and rebuild self-sufficiency, food and nutrition are a very, very important part of that in terms of health and your ability to learn and work on the job and all that stuff. So if you ever have more questions about that, always you can contact me here. But I'm very pleased to welcome you to our site, and I hope that you get out of this program what you are looking for in terms of this struggle. And I'm very pleased to ask Lillie is going to be the person. Lillie, come on up and do the
and give you another
opening.
welcome.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, I forgot. No, stand here. And the restrooms, if you've not been here before, you go right back out into the lobby and turn right. And there's one with the no smoking sign on the door, and there's another one through the second door in the middle of the room. There is hot and cold water. And I have coffee bags and we have tea bags, and that water is available at this discreet little black machine that's go back out into the lobby and look to the left between the windows, and there's cups and water there. So.
We want to have him ask if it's okay. Do you want to ask?
Oh, yeah. Hello, my name's Silver Persinger. I film lots of stuff, city council meetings and public meetings. And if anyone doesn't want me to record them, could you please indicate by raising your hand? Otherwise, this will be on the internet, and it multiplies the effect of the meeting. We have a room full of people. We've filled all the seats, but with a video online, hundreds of people can see this meeting. Does anyone object to me filming them? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. I want to welcome everyone again for coming out this evening. My name is Lillie, Estes, and a concerned citizen interested in raising more awareness on how our city officials make decisions and the historical significance of Shockoe Bottom. We think it's an opportunity to raise a level of consciousness, raise a level of participation. And tonight is an additional opportunity to weigh in your concerns. We want you to go out and find more people that might be interested in sharing their alternate vision as well with what should be in the Shockoe Bottom to make it a significantly historical reverence for our African ancestors, that everyone has an opportunity to share in that kind of homage of that sacred area. Someone asked me the other day how do you see the city? People make decisions a lot of times, and many people are experiencing unreadiness about how elected officials make decisions. So the question was asked, how do you see your city? And where are they looking You know, so if we are the loyal opposition and always have a challenge with how people who's supposed to represent us are making decisions, then I think it's an opportunity for us to really put forth some information and ask, you know, are we all seeing the same thing? And if we're not seeing the same thing, where do we get in on different perspectives, and how do we merge those perspectives in order to have an outcome that's in the best interest of the masses, of the people who don't normally participate? So we want to provide this venue as many times as possible. We want to share with you at the end of the presentation of the historical facts, information, and your question and answering, other opportunities for you to engage in other venues of participation within the city. For me, not just about this issue, for all issues that affect the city: transportation, housing, education, policing, cultural awareness, you know, all of that. We need to really have a more profound, compelling participation from a civic, you know, each one get in where you fit in. So now we want to have a community perspective by Kwame Binta. After that, Kim Allen will give the history information, and then we're going to open it up with the alternative vision and Q&A. Mr. Binta.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to always start off by giving thanks to the Most High for allowing me to be here today. Give me another day. My name is Kwame Binta, and I am a resident of Richmond, Virginia. I've been here, I was born here, but I've been here since 1979. Moved back from New Jersey. I've been an active participant in the community over the years, you know, trying to make this area a better place for all people, you know, that live in this area, doing different things in the community. Excuse me. And you know, we worked with the reclaiming the African burial ground. So what we're trying to do now is try to prevent having to reclaim a ground where a stadium is going to be built on. There's no baseball stadium down Shockoe Bottom for a reason, you know. It's a good reason why it's not there, and that's because of the location. The location is in a flood zone, so it really makes no sense to put a baseball field down there. Last night I was watching this PBS special about what happened in the Philippines back in November, what the water did to that place, you know, and it can definitely happen here too because of the location of that place is, you know, below sea level to a certain extent, and it's flooded there numerous times before. They had to, you know, spend millions of dollars to put a flood wall there, and not too long ago they had a flood and they forgot to close the wall. So what makes us think that's not going to happen again, you know? But the thing is about that place is that it has a lot of historical significance to African people, particularly. But not just us, but the history of this country. Because a lot of things took place there. A lot of wealth was created there. Really, what we really need to do is to take and use that history as a educational opportunity to educate the public about really the true history of the United States of America. I remember when I was coming up in school, and they told me that Christopher Columbus discovered America and that the Pilgrims basically had dinner with the Indians, and you know, they became buddies and friends. But as I grew older, I realized that all of that was really a lie. You know, Columbus couldn't discover something that already somebody was living at. And the Pilgrims and the Native Americans really didn't get along too well, you know, because when you look around, you don't even see them anymore. You know, their history basically has been erased. And we try and prevent our history from being erased because we don't want to end up on concentration camps that they call reservations. And that can't happen, you know. Our perspective is that there definitely does not need to be a baseball diamond in Shockoe Bottom. It already has the perfect location, right where it is. It's, you know, you've got ample parking, you've got the highway right there. You got the Arthur Ashe Center, you got the track field there. You know, if they really want to do something, you know, just, you know, make that place right there into a place where you can recognize one of Richmond's finest, like Arthur Ashe. You know, dedicate that area in his honor, to his memory, Arthur Ashe, and use the Shockoe Bottom as a place where we can take our youth there, we can take adults there, and teach the real history of this country, and understand that there was a lot of wealth created there, and I think that if we put a baseball field down there, we're going to rob ourselves of the opportunity to learn, really what happened, who benefited, what families benefited, what businesses benefited, because, one thing that's being left out of this whole perspective is the issue of reparations for African people. Our ancestors basically didn't just use our sweat and our blood to build this nation, but we used our intelligence. Everybody came over here from Africa, didn't just work in the plantation, picking cotton and tobacco and all these other products, but we actually built cities, we built railroads, we built roads, we invented so many different things in this country and in this area. So that history needs to be told. The truth of the United States, really needs to be told so we can begin the healing, so we can repair the damage that was inflicted upon our people. So I want y'all to, welcome. I'd like to welcome all y'all for coming out here on this very cold day. Trust me, if I had my choice, I'd be in Costa Rica somewhere on a tropical island. But right now I'm here in Richmond, and I got to do what I got to do to try to preserve the history so that when my children, my grandchildren come up, they won't be like I was. I didn't know anything about the Haitian Revolution in 1805 and 1804. I didn't know too much about Denmark Vesey or Nat Turner or really what the Underground Railroad was. I learned about Harriet Tubman, but Harriet Tubman couldn't have done that without the help of Europeans. She couldn't have done it by herself. So we need to come together, and realize that we all have a common history that need to be told. The truth must be told so we can move forward and repair the damage that took place, because we're still suffering today because of that. Statistics prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. The African people here in the United States and globally are still suffering because, basically this country is standing on a bunch of lies, and sooner or later them lies and the foundation are going to crumble. So let's get it together now. Let's uplift this thing by, speaking truth and teaching is really all about. Thank you for your time. And we'll have Dr. Kim Allen give us a perspective on Shockoe Bottom.
Thanks, Kwame, for sharing your perspective and views. My name is Kim Allen, Dr. Allen. I'm an anthropologist, and so I speak from that space, but I'm also native to Richmond. I grew up here. I used to say a lot that I was born and bred here in Virginia. And I didn't learn really what being born and bred meant until I got involved in this struggle and learned about the history of Shockoe Bottom. I was born here, but bred actually, and we'll talk more about Virginia as a breeder state. I didn't know that I was actually bred here like we would breed cattle, but I was born and bred. There are those in the room that we want to give honor to. Mr. Neat Bell is one of those ones who has, for decades, worked to preserve and honor our history. And the likes of Anna Edwards, who likewise has worked long and hard to honor our history, and many more here who I'm just now meeting. And so they can speak more eloquently than I can to this history. And so I borrow a lot from Anna's work and Phil Willato's work and the work of Kim Chen, who wrote a proposal that would have had Shockoe Bottom be registered as a National Historic Site. And hopefully we can get Shockoe Bottom registered as a National Historic Site, much like Monument Avenue is a National Historic Site. So before you do any kind of development on that National Historic Site, you have to have all kinds of permissions to do so. And so what we say is Shockoe Bottom is as significant, is more significant than Monument Avenue, and so should be treated as such. I'm going to work through this rather quickly because we wanted to leave most of the time, most all of the time, for a discussion about what we're here to talk about. But Richmond played a central role in the transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade meaning that enslaved people were brought from Africa to the Caribbean and to the United States and Britain, making for a triangle. And so in 1619, some of the first African peoples, some of the first African peoples landed in Virginia. And since that time, then Virginia would receive human cargo, human beings from overseas, men, women, and children who survived what we call the Middle Passage, which is that very long trip from Africa to the U.S. And they were brought up by ship up the James River. We all know where the James River is. So from Africa through the James River, and they landed in Shockoe Bottom. And they were unloaded at Manchester Docks, which is on the other side of the river, on the south side of the river, and forced to walk to slaveholding pens, which are euphemistically called jails, in Shockoe Bottom. And this is the origin of what has come to be called the Richmond Slave Trail, or the Trail of Enslaved Africans. So once again, the role of Shockoe Bottom is that they received enslaved Africans, and around 1840, that shifted, right? What's up in my way? The role shifted from, 1778. 1778, Shockoe Bottom shifted from being a place that received enslaved Africans to a place that shipped people of African descent. So in 1778, Virginia banned the transatlantic slave trade. They said we can't import people from Africa. In 1807, the United States government officially banned the trade. And so, but slavery continued, right? So where did these people come from? They came from plantations on the outskirts of places like Richmond in Hanover County, Goochland, and all of those, on plantations that produced or bred people, much like you would do cattle, right? And so Virginia shifts from being a place that imports to a place that exports, and thereby becoming a slave breeder state. This is one of the ads that appeared in papers and flyers that was used to announce the sale of human beings. And there were a couple of reasons for the shift from importing people to home-growing people. There was the Haitian Revolution that resulted in the U.S. ban on enslaved people. At the same time, the value of cotton was increased because the United States purchased Louisiana from France, and in that territory there were a lot of plantations established to grow the U.S. economy. So there was a need for enslaved people to work on those plantations, and at the same time it became cheaper to produce cotton because of the cotton gin, invention of the cotton gin. These are some pictures of the Haitian Revolution, where the Haitians were successful in liberating themselves from French domination. These are pictures of a cotton gin that made it cheaper to produce cotton. One slave trader bragged that his plantations had produced 6,000 children for sale. Right? So it became big business. And so by 1861, at the start of the Civil War, the downtown area known as Shockoe Bottom had become the largest and most important slave trading district in the United States, second only to New Orleans. So enslaved people from the surrounding areas and from the north, they would be shipped down south to plantations in Louisiana and Georgia, and they would be shipped out of Shockoe Bottom. held in slaveholding pens or jails in that area until it was time for them to be transported out. So again, Richmond and Shockoe Bottom were central places, right, central to the distribution of human beings. So that from the period 1835 to 1865, 300,000 to 350,000 people of African descent had been sold out of Virginia, most of those passing through Shockoe Bottom. 1830 to 1840, just in a 10-year period, 10 to 11,000 people were sold each year. That's a lot of people each year from Richmond. Shockoe Bottom, the district that's bounded by Main and Cary, Marshall, 14th and 19th Streets, became one of the great wealth-producing, as Kwame said, wealth-producing areas of the South, and in fact in the United States. This is the area that we're now talking about, Shockoe Bottom, and much of the architecture remains. Much of the architecture. Slavery was big business. Slave traders profited. Lots of people profited. There were those slave traders, corporations and individuals, homes and offices located north and south of Broad Street. These people lived, the traders lived down in Shockoe Bottom, and they often had slaveholding pens attached to their homes to hold their property. Slave jail owners profited. Lumpkin's jail is the largest that we know of. The origins of Virginia Union have their roots in Lumpkin's jail. But there are other jails down there too. Omohundro's jail and Bacon Tape jail. And then others are scattered around the district, and so don't believe the hype where there's one jail, Lumpkin's jail. There are many down there. The auction houses were down there. Many were located along 15th Street. It was called Wall Street. Auctions were also held outside, not just inside. Auctions were held in taverns and halls and in hotels. There were hotels down in Shockoe Bottom. Commodity brokers profited, and the town whipping post most likely stood in what is now 17th Street Market, a whipping post where they would whip people. Additional slave-related sites include a municipal cemetery, the area that's now referred to as the African Burial Ground. Additional slave-related businesses included law firms, insurance companies, shipping and railroad lines, blacksmith stores, dry goods stores, including the original Tallheimer's one-room store. And the media, although they weren't located down in the bottom, they did profit because ads were run in the paper for reasons. Selling people was profitable. Even the city of Richmond, through tax collection on property, slave property, benefited. In 1 year alone, I think it was $10,000 was collected. It was levied on the sale of slaves. And in today's dollars, it would be somewhere between $269,000 to $35 million. And that was in 1 year. So the city of Richmond benefited from this. The state of Virginia, through assessment of fees and licenses of slave traders, also benefited. But it was also, Shockoe Bottom was also a place of resistance, right? So there was Gabriel's Rebellion of 1800. Gabriel, as some of us can more eloquently speak to, he was 24 years old. I don't know how old you guys are, but he was 24 years old, and he led a slave revolt. There was the successful mutiny of the slave ship Creole in 1841. And when you go home, I want you to Google Creole slave ship rebellion. Right? I want you to do that. And when I learned about it, I was so proud of the enslaved man who escaped from Virginia, got all the way to Canada, decided he wanted to come back and free his wife. So he made it all the way back to Virginia. He was captured when he got back. And he was sold and he became a cook on this Creole slave ship. And he decided that he just did not want to be an enslaved person, right? He wanted to be free. So on that trip to New Orleans, 135 people were being sold down to New Orleans. They took possession of the ship, they commandeered it, and they got all the way to the Bahamas, right? Only 2 people were killed on that trip, an enslaved person and a slave trader, right? So all of them made it to the Bahamas. They had a trial, it was British territory, they had a trial, and they were set free. This man set himself free 2 times. 2 times, not 1 but 2, right? And then there were individual acts of defiance. And so the significance of Shockoe Bottom then, it's a crucible of the present-day African-American community. Almost nearly 50% of all African-Americans in the United States can trace some of their ancestry through the auction houses and slave jails of Shockoe Bottom. Half of the people, the black people in this country, can trace their ancestry to Shockoe Bottom. Shockoe Bottom was where our ancestors were held before their forced trials. These are just some of the reasons why it has great historical significance and ongoing significance for not just us here in Richmond, but for all of us in the United States. This is United States history. Anna.